Good evening to one and all present here. I am Rotractor Ishaan Porwal.
And I'm Rotractor Unnati Chauhan.
With us, we have Rotractor Nishka Doshi, who is the departmental executive of the Sports Avenue. A warm welcome to everyone who's watching us here on our streaming platforms. It is great to see so many enthusiastic people tuning in to learn more about the sport. Our Avenue and RCNM would like to thank Amatullah Harnesswala, who is helping us throw some limelight on this sport, that is fencing.
We would request you to introduce yourself to the audience watching us virtually on our streaming platforms. I hope we can have a lot of things and learnings to take away. And let's move on with the questions. Okay. So the first question, what was something that you found intriguing or that one driving force that pulled you towards this particular sport?
So I never started like no one in India, at least in Maharashtra, knew what fencing was initially, right? And when you say fencing, like it's not familiar. It wasn't familiar until this Olympics, I think. And I used to play basketball until the eighth standard, and my coach was just like, you know what, like I have someone who teaches fencing and stuff, so I think you should come and try. And we had zero idea what fencing was. So he told us that, okay, come, at least come for one class. So we went. And it just looked like crazy, like people with all these weapons and like, they were doing some like insane shit. And we went and we started like training and stuff. And I think in 2 weeks time, he took us for a district championship and stuff. He said, okay, like come see how the championships are and stuff. And we went. And I think ever since then, after I played my first match, I knew like I don't want to do anything else but this sport. It was really cool. Like, really, I think you guys should come once for real.
Yeah, definitely like to try. Definitely. Moving on to the next question. What were the few factors, be it a family member or an academy or a coach, what was the factor that kept you going on and made you try something which wasn't that known compared, that it wasn't a known sport as you may. So what made you try it rather than all the other sports which are widely known?
Also, I think that the fact that not many people knew it gave me the motivation that, like, now I think I should be the first one. Like, people should know because of me. So that was one of the things. And otherwise, like, I think our coach and my family, like, they're very supportive, very honestly. Like, they've helped me like through everything, and like even my peers, like most of my like fellow fencing mates and stuff, they've been so like good to me. And I started pretty late. Like I started when I was in the 10th grade, and all these people have been doing it since they were like in the fourth standard and stuff. So, I was very new to it when I entered, and everyone was very nice. Like just the environment was so nice to begin with. So that's why.
So moving on. During the unprecedented time that is the COVID pandemic, what are few ways that you have kept your physique and your mental health at peak so that it won't hinder your future games?
Okay, so we all were. I think the first wave now, that time there wasn't anything we could do, but we used to have these online fencing sessions. So used to like be on Zoom, and he used to like take our fitness and stuff. And I think otherwise my mom used to make me like, she used to make me do all the ghar ka kaam. So I was very fit that way throughout. But I think after the second wave, when things started opening up slightly, I did this yoga course. So I went to Mysore and stuff, and I got this like yoga certification and all done. And I think that also helped a lot. So it was good. Like everything was like, I think, and then as soon as like training started, we were back to normal. So like now 6 hours a day, like day we train and everything. So it's all.
So how was getting back to training again like? Because after so much after not having the chance to do so many physical activities, suddenly getting back to practice.
Oh, it was, I think we realized like our bodies were, like doing fitness and all is one thing, but when you do the sport, it's completely different. So we were like, okay, all of us were fit and stuff, but when you again, have the sword in your hand and the feeling, it's like you have to start from day one again. So it was such a like, we were like starting from the basics all over again. And then we had our first tournament very recently in Kolhapur, and like we were like just finally seeing everyone again. It was just such a a good, and then I think, and then right now we had other qualifications. I qualified for All India, which is in Jan, and everything is getting back to normal, so it's pretty great. I think we were done with 2 competitions for the season, but there are quite a few to go now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So moving on to the next question, describe such a sports performance in fencing that didn't go so well. Actually, as we say that was the least best out of all. And what did you learn from this experience?
See, I think I know this is very like philosophical to say, but failure teaches you more than success does, for sure. And very honestly, my first 2 years, I think it's been like my first 2 years in fencing was so bad. Like I think I used to lose almost most of the tournaments. Like I used to play, I used to give my best, and then there used to be a player better than me, and maybe like I used to lose by 2 points or something. And every time, like, I think the first 3 times I used to cry. I used to be like, oh man, like, I just worked so hard, and, I used to feel so bad about it. But eventually I started, like, realizing that after each tournament, I just got better, right? And I think I'm not, like there's so much, it's just such a learning process. There's always something you're learning. And very recently, I also lost. And it was, like, I you know how you, like, it's just that we have like 3 minutes and you can make so many mistakes in just that 3 minutes, right? And like one mistake costs you such a big thing, so it means so much. But it's just like, so like recently I'll tell you what happened. So I went to this Kolhapur tournament, right? I went and it was a 5-point match only. It was a qualifying match. And I was playing, and all the score was, I think, like 2-3 or something. The other goal was 3. And she was like a pretty good player. Like she's been playing since quite some time and stuff. And in my head, I was so intimidated. I was like, oh my God, I'm not in practice and she's doing so much. And, she's such a big player. I'm going to lose, blah, blah, blah. And, when you think you're going to lose, half the match gets over there, right? So I was mentally like, oh, she's going to win. She's going to win. And then suddenly I took like all these points and then it became 4-all, okay? And like at that point, like she took that last point and my coach was just like, you had made it up in your mind only that she's going to win and blah, blah, blah. And then the next tournament came and then I defeated her and, like it became like that. So you learn every tournament, like it's in the head.
Right. So moving on, what's the best piece of advice did you get like from your coaches all over these years?
Best piece of advice. There's so much of advice he gives us. He gives us like these 1-hour speeches, like, telling, like yelling at us and all. But I think the best piece of advice, I don't know, he just keeps on telling us to believe in ourselves a little more. Like he keeps on reminding us that, I think you should believe in yourself a little more and have confidence in your game and all. Because we get like, when you get big players in front of you, you get really intimidated. So I think that is one of the things. And also, he also says that, like, instead of speaking a lot, you should, like, prove it with your actions. So, like, speak less and, like, work more kind of thing. That's one of the things he tells us.
That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
So, coming to the next question, do you think being a sports person has changed your life, and what life lessons or abilities have you inculcated over your sporting years?
I think sports is a very, very big part of my identity, right? And sports experiences teach you lessons that books will never teach you. So, be it basketball, so I played basketball, I played throwball, and then I got into fencing. And not only the sport, like firstly it teaches you how to deal with pressure. It teaches you how to have faith in yourself and make decisions. Because those end moment decisions you make during the game, like when you're playing, so those things, it's taught me to like not only physically fit, keep myself mentally fit as well. And it's overall just made me like when we go for all these state level and national level games, right? So I come from a very sober kind of background, right? And when you go to all these like games, you meet people from like Buldana, Bhandara, and all these states you've never even heard of. and it's crazy to see the talent they have and like from where they come from. And you get to like touch with all these kind of people. You learn to make friends with everyone. And we stayed in like the worst places ever. We stayed in like gurudwaras and the train experiences. So all of that overall has just taught me so much. Like being adjusting to any situation you're put in is what sports teaches you for sure.
That. The next question is, what small description of the sport can you give to the youth which can burst few of the myths about the sport, like fencing?
What what are the myths of fencing? I don't know what myths are there in fencing. Repeat the question again.
Yeah, so like what small description of the sport can you give to the youth?
Oh, okay. I've got one. So everyone keeps on asking me, oh, do you get really badly hurt in fencing because you play with like swords and stuff? Everyone they're like, oh, show me where you got hurt, and I'm like, no, that's not how it works, right? So of course it's like an Olympic sport. So if anyone knows, not all sports are Olympic sports. For example, squash, etc., etc. So any Olympic sport will never have, even kickboxing and all, it hasn't been included in the Olympics right now. For the only reason is that they have these safety protocol thingies to follow. So if fencing is an Olympic sport, it's 100% safe, right? You have to wear a lot of equipment. So we wear an underplaster on, a plaster on, something on top of it, which is like really thick. And the weapons don't really hurt. So if I touch you, there's like a light that's going to come up, and it's the first touch thing. So it's a fast sport. It's one of the fastest sports in the Olympics. So that is the biggest myth, I think, like just getting hurt. Like it's completely safe. There's no getting hurt at all.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. What mental tool do you use under pressure in life or in the sport, whatever the difficulty may be?
I always go into a match thinking there's nothing to lose. Like, ठीक है, it's okay, it's for fun. Matlab, I'm not doing this out of like, कि नहीं, matlab, of course, everyone wants to win, like no shit. But like, in your head, if you keep that in your mind that, oh, I want to win, in your head, there's also that thing that, that fear. What if I lose, right? So I think the main thing is just have fun while playing. And that's the whole reason I started the sport, because I was so like, wow, it's so cool. So I was like, the fact that I'm doing this, the fact that I'm here right now, enjoy this moment and move on. I think that is the only thing.
That's something. That's a great advice. So moving on. Do you think there are not enough opportunities for people to showcase their fencing talents or anything like that?
Like in the state or
Yeah.
overall?
Anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, see, this is, I think, the complaint every sport has. Like, dude, for cricket, there is like, matlab, everyone knows, right, in India. But if you talk about any sport, there's not enough funding given and all. Very recently, we started, like, I think since the Olympics got over this time, we've started getting a lot of funding and stuff in the sport. But previously, we hardly had. It's a pretty expensive sport, very honestly. Because there's a lot of equipment needed, and it's not very easily available everywhere. So either you import it from Budapest or Italy and stuff, which is really expensive, and you need funds for this sport. But the government initially, used to not previously provide us with a lot of funds, but recently it's gotten a lot better. And yeah, of course, there's not enough opportunity given as of yet, because not many people also know about such sports. Every parent wants to put their child in football and like basketball, and everyone does those classes, but no one. But I think recently it's been opening up a lot, so that's great.
That's good to hear. So as you must be knowing, Bhavani Devi was the first Indian to represent our country in the Tokyo Olympics. Do you think representative bodies or athletes like her can change people's opinion about fencing, just so that they can have someone to look up to, which can encourage the youth to give their best and reach the top in such sports as well?
100%. Even if you take like the most generic example of PV Sindhu, before PV Sindhu and I think Saina Nehwal, no one knew what badminton was. I think after Saina Nehwal got that medal in the Olympics, badminton was given, it boosted in such a way that now we have that, those the badminton Premier League, blah blah blah. So I think Bhavani Devi is like the representative face of fencing as of yet. She's the first woman and the first fencer overall who's represented India in the Olympics. And after her, we've gotten a lot of funding. That's what I said. After this Olympic, people have started to know what fencing is. And people don't take it like everyone used to be like, what is talwar bazi? Matlab, what do you do only in like this sword fighting? No one used to get it. But I think after this Olympics, a lot of stuff has changed. Like the awareness factor has changed, the funding has come in. So it's helped a lot for sure.
Yes, definitely. I'd just like to ask one question regarding, as you mentioned, the Premier Leagues so cricket has IPL, then football has ISL. So do you think like those competitions or those leagues can also like obviously give people a platform as well as like spread awareness about the same? Because I think these leagues, if they are given the right, if they reach the right people, and if they get like enough sponsorships and funding, I think then the sport can actually reach heights.
Oh, it definitely can. So, fencing, right? It's not only one event. There are 3 events in fencing, and like there are 3 different, like for example, okay. So how in athletics, right? There is 100 meters, 200 meters, whatever. In the same way, fencing has 3 different weapons, which can bring you over. I think there are 6 if we actually like give proper funding to the sport, right? There is a chance that we have an opportunity to bring at least minimum of 6 Olympic medals just in fencing. So if the sport is given the right funding, of course a lot of things can be done. And if you're saying that things like these Premier Leagues get introduced, more than anything, I think the players will get so motivated, right? Because if you get more opportunity, we have a lot of talent in the sport. We just don't have the right, energy put in. So I think once you get that, like things like this come up, definitely, like it's gonna be great because the countries booming in fencing right now is like Russia and Italy and all these countries, and they have tons of opportunity, and their government completely sponsors them. So I think like if it comes in India, 100%, like this sport will like boom a lot.
Yes, I feel like the players, if they get like recognition, it just keeps them motivated so that like they know that they're on the right track and they've chosen the right sport. It's not that the other sports like football or something, they get enough recognition, whereas I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
I think go ahead.
Yeah, so coming to the last question for the day. Yeah. What is that one piece of advice you would like to give to the youth or the sport enthusiasts who are restraining themselves from playing this sport due to any XYZ reason?
There's no reason that you wouldn't want to play the sport after you see it, firstly. Secondly, what advice would I give someone? What kind, like, I don't know. Just like it's the most fun sport ever. I think even if you take not only fencing, just take part in any sport at all, and there's no way you're not going to like, you're going to find it like treacherous or whatever. Do it for the fun of it. Don't do it with some like ulterior motive. Just have fun in what you're doing. That's it.
One question from my side again, Amatullah, if you don't mind. So what is the future of fencing and what heights do you think can it reach if it's given the right amount of attention and money and basically, if it's given the right amount of attention, where do you think it can reach?
So I'm so sure, like, so Bhavani Devi herself, she's been training since she was like very tiny. And I think her game picked up she used to not train in India for the Olympics, right? Because that's what I'm saying, the opportunities and the funding wasn't enough. To get to that level, you need that kind of training. So she trained in Italy for I think 4.5, 5 years before. And And then she qualified for the Olympics because she continuously played Commonwealth and Asian Games and so on and so forth. And we have not only Bhavani Devi, there are so many. Like there's this guy called Karan Singh Gujjar. He's from Rajasthan. He's an intense, like he's too good. But and now he also went to Budapest to train and whatever. So I think once we get the right training and stuff now, there's no stopping this sport for sure. Like everyone's going to like, you just need that little push from the Indian like people and stuff. And I think there's no story. I think this is the case in most of the sports. So yeah.
Another question from my side, Amatullah. So, being a woman and talking about fencing just specifically fencing as playing fencing as a woman, do you think women are given equal chances and equal opportunities and equal amount of attention as men in fencing?
I think that the fact that Bhavani Devi, who's the first, she's the woman who like represented. So yeah, there's no like men and women and fencing. It's like it's pretty there's no discrimination at all. I think personally, everything there's no discrimination. It's literally the same. Like how in the cricket team especially, like I have many friends who follow cricket. So like everyone, like when the IPL, like when those the ODIs for the guys matches are there, everyone's watching because but when the women's teams matches happen, I think very few people watch. But I think that's not the case with fencing. Both, like there's equality both ways. Like everyone likes watching. It's a good thing. Yeah, that's not.
It's great to hear.
Yeah.
So, any other questions from your side, Unnati or Nishka?
I think we've got everything.
Yeah, I think like she's answered pretty much like most of it, and I think she's literally, we didn't know too much about the sport, but like knowing how interesting it is and just to like give it a shot, I think it makes more sense. And any random thing or any like just a short advice or something you'd like to just say to the viewers online who are listening to us? As in, we'll be posting this on YouTube and Spotify. So anything you'd like to tell them?
About the sport?
Yeah, anything in general. That's also fine.
Oh, anything in general. I'm not much of an advice giver, man. But okay. I don't know. As I said, like I think you should just like, I really believe in this one thing that like say less and do more. So I'm not going to give a lot of advice. I'm not that kind. But yeah, just like if you want something, like just do it. Like that's it.
That's actually a great advice. It may not sound like that's very philosophical, but that is, to be honest, a great advice.
Yeah, like stop being lazy, get up and do it. That's it.
Yeah. That's
definitely. So I just wish you all the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you so much.
Unnati and Ishaan, you all can just conclude the session as well.
Yes. So we would once again like to thank Amatullah Harnesswala for helping us gain a clear insight into the sport of fencing and sharing with us the abundant knowledge and love for the same. At least I am sure that I have taken away something from this session, and I hope the listeners have too. Thank you so much, Amatullah, for joining us. Thanks to all our viewers.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yes.